Hello, friends. Welcome to Story Behind Podcast. This is the show for people who love hearing a good story and who believe the world could use more positivity. We're the team behind GodUpdates and GodTube, and we hope these weekly short stories will brighten your day.
This Missouri school was renamed after their much-loved and dedicated custodian. Written by Heather Riggleman, read by Julie Provost. This Missouri school was renamed after its much-loved and dedicated custodian. Most schools want to pick regal, respected names pulled from their small-town history books. They want something that reflects who they are in academics and in the community. But the heartbeat of this school wasn't found in the history books or on the streets. For decades, the steady beat of the school was their janitor, Claudine Wilson. For over 30 years, Claudine served as more than just the custodian. She was the bus driver, landscaper, and greeter, and above all, she nurtured every student. She poured her heart and soul into the school, often working 13-hour days filled with leaking faucets, driving students to and from their homes, serving meals in the cafeteria, and hugging kids on more than one occasion. To the kids, Claudine was someone who they trusted with scraped knees, having a bad day at school, or whatever else they needed comfort for. She wasn't just someone who mopped the floors. She was someone they ran to when they had a tough morning or wanted to share exciting news. The school board president, Chuck Boren, said, "That's what makes Claudine what she is. These kids get sick. You think they go to the nurse to start with? They go to her. If they had a bad night, they go to her. And she's there for each and every one of them." When the small-town school began the process of renaming the school, they mulled over famous Missouri natives and national figures that would inspire high achievements in the kids. But they realized after 30 years of dedicated service, the school should be named after the heart of the school. They named it the Claudine Wilson Learning Center. After all, if you want to inspire the world to make a difference in the heart of the community, it starts with those who are doing the work the way Claudine did. One teacher who still remembers when Claudine encouraged him as a young student by giving him a thumbs up, Jacob Miller, said, "It's awesome that someone that's been here, spent their whole life for 30 years working at one place and having all these connections means something." Claudine was humbled to see her name in bold letters across the front of the building, where she poured her heart and soul. Although she said, "It touches your heart, but I don't think my name needs to be up on a building somewhere," her community disagrees. Colossians 3:23-24. Whatever you do, work at it with all of your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. Her mom put a message in a bottle as a child. 26 years later, her classmate found it. Written by Julie Provost, read by Julie Provost. If you have ever put a message in a bottle, you probably wondered where it might end up or who would find it. You probably wouldn't assume that you would ever see it again. But that's precisely what happened to Mackenzie Van Elk of Ontario, Canada. She told the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, CBC, that she had put a message in a bottle into Lake St. Clair in 1998 when she was in the 4th grade at St. John the Baptist Elementary School in Bell River, Ontario. She did this for a school project but hadn't thought much about it since. Not until a student at the same elementary school, River Vandenberg, found the very same bottle by a jetty. There was no date on the letter, so I thought maybe it was from this year, maybe last year at most, River's grandmother told the CBC. We sent it to the school. His teacher contacted us later that day and said that it was from 1998. I was shocked. As if it wasn't a miracle in itself, River is in the same class as Scarlett, Mackenzie's daughter. Their teacher surprised her by reading the note and revealing the name on the paper. My mouth completely dropped, Scarlett told CBC. Everyone was like, "Who's that? Who's that?" And I was like, "My mother." Mackenzie was of course astonished to see that the letter had been preserved for all those years. I definitely wasn't thinking about it often, so I was very surprised, she said. I think that process really stuck with me. This was also right when our school got a computer lab, one of the first things that I ever printed on paper and got to do something with. It was memorable to do something like that. Throw something and think maybe someone will find it later. The idea to put the message in the bottle back in 1998 came from teacher Roland St. Pierre, who told CBC that he had forgotten about it and it was a real shock when he heard the news. Finding the message after all these years is definitely a God thing, a fun moment to celebrate between mother and daughter. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Psalm 23:6.
Thank you so much for listening to Story Behind Podcast. We're really glad you joined us for this week's story. To see photos and videos that may have been referenced in this episode, check out the links in the show notes. And if you enjoyed what you heard today, subscribe to our podcast, and please tell a friend about us. We'd also love it if you'd rate us and leave us a review. It really does help more people find us. Story Behind is a Salem Web Network production.